Hi, I'm Graham Mack.
And Amy Stevenson.
Welcome to another podcast and a great guest. Very funny bloke. A bloke that the Scotsman newspaper described as so cool he could well be the answer to global warming.
I agree with that. He was funny.
He really was. And we're talking about Tom Stade. The reason why the Scotsman newspaper is because he lives in Edinburgh. However, don't let that fool you. He's Canadian. Yes,
he is. From a really small town as well. So proper back street Canadian. Outback.
A back street Canadian.
Outback Canadian.
An outback Canadian?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he also lived in Wolverhampton for a while.
That's pretty outback.
Some of his material... have you seen some of this stuff?
I've seen a couple of bits.
He was on Michael McIntyre, that was his big breakthrough. But he's done other stuff as well, and he is cleaned up for television. Some of it quite controversial.
What she said blew my mind. She said, Tom, she goes, Tom, the reason the Americans are so fat right now is because there's so much poverty. I was like, are you telling me that there are poor people getting fat? That's not natural. And she went, yeah, Tom. See, the poor people in America, Tom, they can only afford cheap food, Tom. They can only afford KFC snack packs with 2 pieces of chicken, delicious gravy, and some coleslaw. And me and Jimmy, we cried all night, didn't we? We didn't know it was a problem. And that's when I realized that's what makes America awesome. Because it is the only country where you can be poor and fat. That's odd, because you can't say that about it, you know. You can't sit there and go, oh yeah, do you want to know why there's so many fat Africans? Because they're so poor. Yeah, probably a couple fat Africans on a donkey right now, trying to find cheap food. God, I'm so fat and poor and African-y. God, I hope I find cheap food. Is that a drive-thru? We're gonna live! Hi, welcome to McGilduff's. How can I help you? Oh, God, I'm so fat and poor and hungry. All right, okay, I'll take a McFamine meal. And could you supersize the dirty water? And I'll take a large flies. Put that bag on my head and I'm out of here. Now, I know a lot of people tonight are going, why'd you do it, Tom? Why'd you do it? You knew it was wrong, and you did it anyways, Tom. Why'd you say flies, Tom? Did you have to take it all the way to flies, Tom? We were laughing at dirty water, Tom. We were laughing at dirty water. I said flies for 2 reasons. One, because I thought it was funny. I use it all the time now through every drive-thru I go to. Hi, could I get a large flies? And they're like, what do you think this is, Africa? But number 2, maybe just maybe, you could say, thank you, Tom. Thank you for staying flies. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom, for making us aware of a hunger problem in Africa using the medium of comedy. Well, guess what? You're welcome. It's the least I can do.
Tom Stade.
Oh, he's brilliant.
It's a bit out there, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you find yourself cringing.
You're giggling and cringing at the same time. And it's like, you're not supposed to laugh, but he is funny.
And he was a bit, when we spoke to him, he was like he was on the whole time.
I think it's him. I think you can't, you have a stage and you go on the stage and then that's your act. But I think a lot of what's on stage is actually him as well.
But he can't be like that all the time. I mean, he was driving. He was busy when we spoke to him. He was driving his car. He's on the M6. And he was just full on. Now, we tried to drill a little bit deeper in case this... Well, it must be a protective shell, mustn't it?
Yeah.
The whole stage act.
Well, most people have a shell, don't they? And you have a phone voice.
I think we did get a little bit closer to him when he said something about his father and his father's collection of comedy records.
Yeah.
I think we got close then. But it was a very enjoyable chat.
He's a funny guy, like very quick. There aren't that many people that I know that you can say something straight away. He's on it.
He was just rolling with it. It was quite an incredible conversation to think that he's behind the wheel of a car.
I know. Well, at one point, he's been compared to as a drunken Canadian, and at one point I did think he was drunk.
Did you?
Yeah. Did you not think he sounded drunk?
No, I thought he was kind of high on life.
He reminds me of me when I'm drunk. Maybe that's why I thought he was drunk. I'm much funnier when I've had a drink. Yeah, he could have been high on life.
I think that, for me, that's what it was. I think, interesting story. I'm not sure we got to the bottom of why he came to the UK.
No, we didn't, no.
Because we covered his acting in Hollywood.
What I liked about him was how close he is with his wife. And how he mentioned we a few times in terms of her, his wife, Aunt Trudy, and Tom. And the commitment that he's got to her and the respect that he's got to her is second to none. Brilliant.
Top bloke. Tom Stade.
I'm on the road right now talking through my TK Mack freaking headphone / microphone plug into my phone
Yes.
thing so I can drive
Yes.
and talk.
Yeah.
This may be the last conversation I ever have when I'm off the road.
Your voice sounds croaky. Are you okay?
Yeah, oh God, yeah, this is my normal voice. This is like, not a lot of people realize it, but I've worked hard to cultivate this.
Right, okay. So,
Like, I never wanted a normal voice, Graham. This is what you get. And I've already made fun of it so many times, but I'd like to thank all the parties I've ever been to for this voice.
your delivery's been described as drunken Canadian.
Yeah, somebody wrote that down. And I think, you know what, it ain't that, as much as I don't want to admit it, it probably ain't that far off. But then again, I haven't hung around with a lot of drunken Canadians lately to be able to compare it.
When was the last time you were in Canada and you could have had that opportunity?
The last time I was there was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But I was hanging out with my parents and all that, so I never really got to. I mean, my dad was pretty drunk, but he didn't seem like a drunken Canadian to me. Like the same drunken dad I've always known in life.
Let's go back to the beginning then. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a. Okay, I tell a lot of people Vancouver, just because it's one of those cities that everybody might know. But I'm going to let you guys in on the real deal. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is exclusive. I grew up in a little town called Quesnel, British Columbia.
You won't
Okay,
believe this. You will not believe this. My great aunt lives there.
In Quesnel?
Yes, she does. Yeah, my granddad's... My granddad's sister lives there. Yeah.
Man, I may have partied with her then. It's such a little isolated drinking... It's a real alcoholic little village in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
And I always used to say that. This is how small the town was. You never lost your girlfriend, you just lost your turn.
Oh!
Wow, deep dive. Huh? There's a Quesnel saying for you that we're not apologizing for. I may have dated your great-grandma for about 2 weeks. I'm not sure. I couldn't remember everybody's name.
So how did you get out of Quesnel?
Well, I thought I was going to be an actor, Graham, believe it or not, and I went to Vancouver to do one of these general casting calls for the CBC, which is like the BBC, except we've only got one channel.
Okay.
Like, it's so bad. It's like, if you ever complain about the BBC, just go watch the CBC for like one day, and you'll realize how great it is. Okay. And I went there, and it really the audition went good, but then they said, "Who's your agent?" And that was my first real step in the show business when I said, "I don't have an agent." So realizing I was never going to get an agent, I went over to the comedy club where a friend of mine was gigging, and he said I should do comedy, and he got me on an amateur night, and I went up and did 5 minutes, and I was hooked, and I haven't looked back since, man.
Because you've done a bit of TV, haven't you?
I've done lots of TV.
There was a series years ago. You were in an episode of The Newsroom.
Yeah, an award-winning show.
Oh, well done.
Will you bet? I see. I'm used to English people going. Look at what the little boy. You can't brag in England, man. England doesn't like people who are doing well.
A lot of your act is actually taking the mickey out of British people, isn't it?
Well, it's not. It's more taking... Most of my stuff, it's just I'm a very internal comic. I rarely talk about the news, Graham, because I find it to be other people's problems. And I have enough problems on my own. Believe me. And they're all self-inflicted. If I didn't do damage to myself, no one would. So most of the stuff is really in my inner sphere of whatever is going on in my life, which means England's a part of that, but so is my family and so is my self-destruction. So, yeah, in a way, a little bit. I have fun talking about meat vans and Argos and Primark, but I also have fun watching my wife cry in the bathroom because I didn't mean to say something to her that came out all wrong. So it's just all this stuff that kind of happens in an everyday life situation,
You've been married a long time now, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I love her dearly, Graham, believe it or not, for all the things we laugh. Like, I make fun of all the bad times, which are few and far, but those are the fun ones. If I told you all the good times me and my wife had, it's not as funny, like, oh yeah, and then there's this time we held hands and we talked till 2 in the morning. Stop it, Tom. You're killing me.
Is there any times, because you do talk about your family and your wife a lot, are there any times when you get home and she goes, why did you say that?
Well, she used to. She used to until we realized that when we talk about our problems on stage, I know this is going to sound screwy, but when we talk about our problems on stage, and then everybody laughing, she'll watch everybody else laughing, and then you realize that because we've said that, we kind of make people not feel like they're the only ones going through the same thing.
Mm.
And the more I'll talk about my problems and how we've worked through it, to her, it makes it feel like she's actually helping people by listening to our crappy little lies, you know?
Aww.
Because sometimes when you're having a rough time in your relationship, you feel like you're the only one going through it, and you don't want to work through it.
Yeah.
But then I come up there and start slagging everything off and show us that we can work through this if you just listen to me.
So what was the lightning bulb moment when you realised that actually you just baring your soul and being honest was what people want to hear? Because you are really, really honest. I mean, you're brutally honest. It's brilliant.
I think I did it when I first got married in Vegas to her. Like, we just celebrated 19 years, right? And a lot of people don't realize that I married her in Vegas after 3 months of knowing her.
Wow.
Me and Trude, yeah, like, we did what Britney Spears dreamed she could do. But when I was with her, all of a sudden I started talking about all this stuff. Before that, I was just trying to be funny. Now I am trying to be funny, but I am doing it in a very truthful way. And I think it all started after I got married and all that sort of stuff. And things kind of just fell into my lap, kids and all that sort of stuff. And so I had to move away from talking about partying and, you know, being with, because when you're younger, that's all you can talk about. You know, you've got no life experience yet. So you have to be clever, you know. But now that I'm married, I had wisdom. I had wisdom in my head, and I wielded it with such skill now, you know. So I think the eureka moment for me was when me and Trude probably got married, because before that I was just doing jokes and stuff like that. And then after her, I got to talk about us. And then it became, as soon as you get comfortable talking about you guys, then you find you get comfortable talking about every aspect of your life.
You say you got wisdom now, Tom. What kind of wisdom took you to Wolverhampton, of all places?
The wisdom of knowing my life is a series of accidents. I will never, ever plan anything again, because anytime I plan something, it goes horribly wrong, and people end up crying in the bathroom. If I just get real Buddhist on everybody and just let things happen, because look, like, I know Wolverhampton ain't the showbiz mecca that everybody thinks it is.
Right.
I mean, I know, you know, it's going to be the new LA, but if I had not gone to Wolverhampton, and it was an accident, because I just thought London was too expensive to live in, and I'm driving, like, to Manchester every weekend, all this place. I might as well live in the middle of the country, right?
Right,
So
good
I
plan,
thought,
yeah.
Yes. So I thought I'd move to Birmingham. Going, that's a nice big city. They got comedy there. They got all this stuff. And then we took a tram, which brought us through West Bromwich, and ended us up in Wolverhampton. And then we thought, oh, well, let's look at some prices in Wolverhampton. We saw an estate agent, brought us to this big old house that was as big as the house we were renting in London. But then they said it was £400 a month. And that's when me and Trude said, we'll take it. Like, 'cause that's like
crazy in London, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
It's nuts. I don't know how people can still live there, man.
Well, they don't. They drink a lot.
Of course they drink a lot. It's not like they're going to be booted out of their house at any time. The last thing you want to be is booted out sober.
No.
Was it the drinking that took you to Edinburgh then?
No, well, so we took it.
Yeah.
We took it, and then, but if I didn't move there, I wouldn't have never seen the meat van in Bilston.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
For those who haven't heard that story, can you just give us a quick recap of the meat van in Bilston?
Well, we went there, and I'd never seen that before. I'm used to meat being in supermarkets, not sweating out in the sun. Like on a scale, and just being shown off like it was Elle McPherson supermodel, like, and just having it in a scale, freaking everybody out by just trying to weigh that scale down so much. And then the prices that they were given got me hooked to the fact that I will never buy meat in a supermarket again, ever. Okay? So, and then we wrote that one, and then did it on Michael McIntyre's, and then all of a sudden my whole life changed. Like a proper changing, defining moment.
Wow.
So that all of a sudden people wanted to see the meat van joke. Next thing you know, I'm in theaters wondering where the hell did all these people come from. I'm used to performing in front of 30 people in a 200-seat room.
So you said,
what are you 200 people doing?
So you said we wrote that. Who did you write it with?
Well, it's my gal. I always use the word we because I find us to be a team. Me and Trudy have been a team for 19 years, and I do find myself saying that all the time. And if I wrote it, I always say we, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to have the wonderful family life that I have, plus the career. So I'm indebted to her beyond any, and plus I wouldn't have had all the great jokes without her riding her emotions like they were wild horses.
That's lovely that she supports you that much. And your kids support you as well?
Well, my kids think I'm an a-hole. But they're kids, and they're supposed to think their dad's a loser.
How old are they?
They're 18 and 14.
And do they find you funny? Because to them, to us, you're funny. You're a great comedian. To them, you're a dad. So you tell dad jokes.
I do tell dad jokes. There hasn't been a restaurant I haven't walked into with my kids and gotten the bill and shouted, "What? This is outrageous. What we do, break a window? Is that on the bill?" They find some of them funny because I'm an edgy comic. What you see on TV is me sanitized, but everybody knows that who knows. And my kids have been to a lot of shows I've done. Like my kids have been to real shows when they were like 7 and 8, listening to me say some bad words and stuff. But my dad always said to me, "There's no bad words. There's only bad times to use them. And if you ever use one of your mother while I'm shopping, I will kill you." Okay? And I'm under that. That's how I see things, right? So they've grown up around comedy. So they've found me very funny. And when they find me funny is when I'm using bad words. Because children love bad words.
Yeah, because it's naughty, isn't it?
Of course they're naughty. I mean, I remember listening to Richard Pryor when I was, and I didn't even understand what he was saying at that time. But every time he threw out words that made me giggle. You know? And every good dad knows that he talks like in front of his kids when mommy's not around. They shed off their dad's skin and talk to them like they were real people stuff.
Yeah.
But my kids do find some of my things funny, but I've also embarrassed them too. So there's that, and that is a good tool for me because I go, if you don't wash these dishes, I'll embarrass you in front of 2 million people.
That's like a parent's prerogative, isn't it? You have kids just to embarrass them. But
yeah, a little bit.
You did. You know, you mentioned that you say some bad words and you said some bad things. So, what do your parents think of when they first heard your piece? What was your mum's reaction?
Well, my mom, I come from a very free kind of thinking family, and my mom's a very proud lady that I've actually made it this far. Coming from Quesnel, British Columbia, because believe it or not, people don't make it out of there. They live there their whole life, and then on their deathbed say, "Well, that was a waste." Okay, my parents are actually very liberal about the whole thing. And my dad was such a comedy fan when I was growing up that it didn't affect him at all because he knows. To have good comedy, you can't sanitize yourself, or it looks phony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to be this guy and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there are guys like that out there that are totally clean, but that is who they are as a person. You know, if they started getting all edgy and dark and all that stuff, like if Michael McIntyre started talking about abortion, everyone would go, "Oh my God!"
Yeah,
he's having a nervous breakdown.
He's having a nervous. That's so not him, you know. But to see me talk about it, everybody's comfortable with it.
yeah. Apart
You know what I mean?
apart from maybe the flies joke with the drive-through on the donkey in Africa, maybe.
Oh, that makes me laugh. My God, are you kidding me? That's like if I was living in that guy's shoes, that is exactly what I'd be thinking. You know, walk a mile in somebody's shoes, it gets a lot funnier. You know?
Tom,
Oh,
do you think you say your dad was a fan of comedy? Was that important? Do you think there's a little bit of you is looking for his approval, and that's why you went into comedy?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that. Use the word approval. Because my dad, like everybody asks me who my biggest influence in comedy. Now, I didn't realize that him listening, like I've Bob Newhart, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Red Fox. I heard them all when I was a young kid. But like I say, I was going to be an actor at first. Comedy never came around. But because he played me all those albums and himself was a real funny guy. My whole family were like very, very funny people. What you see on stage is pretty much a culmination of my dad and all my uncles in one. Do you know what I mean? Because they were the ones that really influenced me the most on how I see this world. And you can't see that, like, and they were all proper fun, alcoholic, drinking, barbecue every Saturday, you know, just mental cases.
Sounds quite fun.
And you cannot, well, everybody's family is. You know, like most of the people, they want to say they live, but everybody's dysfunctional in some way. But all their I remember being at a funeral, and I was about 9 or 10, and I was standing next to my Uncle Tom, who'd already had like about 6 shots of vodka before he walked in there, and I'm standing next to him, and the guy's in his eulogy, and my uncle turns to me and he says, "God, I'm glad this guy's dead. This is boring."
No way.
And I couldn't stop laughing. but he only did it to make me laugh at 10 years old. But that's the kind of humor they had, you know? And I still find myself saying it at parties when people go, hey, I'm out of here. And I'll find myself leaning over to somebody going, I'm glad that guy's leaving. It was so boring.
Tom Stade, thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, you guys. I love people. You have no idea how much I love people.
You're on tour at the moment. We can see you in St Albans.
Yes, St Albans on the 14th of October and on Saturday the 22nd of November in Hemel Hempstead at Old Town Hall.
Yeah.
If you're ever in Hertfordshire, you're always welcome to grab a coffee with us. We'd love to see you.
I would love to come down and actually sit down with you guys. That would be absolutely fantastic, man.
Well, let's do it. Where are you staying? Do you stay the night or do you go home every night?
I stay the night in one of those towns you mentioned, for sure, man.
Amazing. I've got a spare room. You're more than welcome to stay there.
All right, I'll call my wife and tell a woman that I can give you a spare room. I bet you she'll be happy as ever.
Well, it's
so
all
go do it. Tell me if she's sexy, Tom.
No, it would be great, though, to catch up for a coffee. You're more than welcome to come in on the breakfast show as well.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, get closer to the date, get a hold of me and all that stuff.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Tom, thank you so much.
Take
Stay
care.
safe. Drive safely.
Cheers, guys.
See
Bye.
you.
Cheers,
Bye.
bye. Tom Stade. Good bloke.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Fun to talk to.
And I loved, the bits where he was talking about his family, making him, again, another humble guy.
Yeah.
You expect showbiz celebrities to be up their own asses, but no, he's down to earth. I like it.
And interesting how he said that one bit about the meat truck in the meat van in Wolverhampton, that he's working these small rooms. He goes on Michael McIntyre. He does that bit. His life changes.
Yes, yeah.
That's showbiz.
Yeah,
it's all about just hitting the right thing at the right time, capturing the public's imagination, and then you kick off. And now he's a big deal.
Yes, yeah.
That's it for another podcast. If you like what we do, remember you can subscribe on iTunes. Just look for Graham Mack's podcast, or you can tweet links, or you can tweet us direct. I'm at Graham Mack.
Yeah, and I'm at Amy Stevenson 1. Send us a message anytime.
Especially if it's clean.
No, we don't want clean ones.
Yes, we do.
No.
Yes, we do. You've set yourself right up. You've set yourself right up.
How'd you work that one out?
Because I've had bad texts before
Have
from
you?
angry Scots people and cyclists.
Oh, yeah, they're just nasty ones. They're not clean or dirty.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're just setting yourself right up.
Make me feel better. Send me a dirty one. I've never seen you react like that before. If he gets me more followers.